In this video, you will see what is the top 10 must-have units in Anime Vanguards Update 1.5. Every units in this video are all obtainable. I do want to know, what do you think is the best unit in Anime Vanguards Update 1.5? Remember to subscribe and like, and with that being said, in no particular order, the first must-have unit is Okaron Turbo. Okaron is one of the newest exclusive limited unit, and he became one of the best exclusive units in this new Anime Vanguards Update 1.5. Okaron Turbo stats a max upgrade and max level R, 29,400 damage with his SPA at 6.2 seconds, making his damage per second at 4,741.93, which is extremely high. Wow! Okaron's first passive turbo transformation. His damage will increase by 70%, his SPA will be reduced by 50% for the next attack per 5 attacks performed. Okaron's second passive, running out of time, his SPA will be reduced by 1% per attack performed down to 20%, although his damage will decrease by 10% per 5 attacks performed down to 20%. How to get Okaron Turbo is by summoning on the latest Oculate banner, and you'll be needing to use Spirit Wisp to summon, and to get Spirit Wisps is by grinding the new event. Alright, next in is Toji Sorcerer Killer. Toji is one of the strongest damage per second unit with his overpowered passive. Toji Sorcerer stats a max upgrade and max level R, 20,580 damage with his SPA at 6.5 seconds, making his damage per second at 3,166.15, which is insanely good, especially with his overpowered passives. Toji Sorcerer first passive, Heavenly Body. His damage will increase by 50% when no buffs are active on this character. His second passive, Challenging Infinity. His range increases by 20% and his attacks remove shields entirely and ignore damage reduction, with this damage increasing up to 30% until an enemy is killed after removing shields. His last passive, Curse Inventory. Toji gains an ability Curse. Using Curse Inventory will swap between Chain Blitz and Domain Breaker. Domain Breaker increases his range by 25% and increases his boss damage, while Chain Blitz increases plus 10% damage, so I highly recommend to use Chain Blitz when focusing on bosses. How to get Toji Sorcerer is by doing the Worm quest you can get from defeating Act 6 of the Jujutsu Kaisen story mode, and completing the quest will let you sacrifice one evolved unit from Jujutsu Kaisen update, and you'll be able to obtain Toji and have a chance to get a shiny version. So good luck to everyone who is trying to get him shiny. UPA. Okay, next in is Vegeta Super Awakened. Vegeta is one of the strongest mythical unit, especially with his multi-hit on placement, which will be great against shield enemies. Vegeta Super Awakened stats a max upgrade and max level R, 8,820 damage with his SPA at 4.4 seconds, making his damage per second at 2,004.54, which is extremely strong, especially he is a line AoE. Vegeta's first passive is, if only the units in range include the name Vegeta, his SPA will lessen by 20%. His second passive will increase his damage by 100% when hitting one enemy. Alright, next unit is Tengen Flashiness. Tengen is still one of the strongest DPS with his full AoE and passives in this new Anime Vanguards Update 1.5. Tengen Flashiness stats a max upgrade and max level R, 16,880 damage with his SPA at 7.4 seconds, making his damage per second at 2,281.08. Tengen Flashiness first passive, God Flashiness, his damage increases and range by 10%, increases dodge chance by 3% with each attack performance up to 60%. Tengen's second passive, his damage will increase by 10% with each consecutive attack on the same enemy up to 30%, with his SPA reducing by 2% with each attack performed down to 30%, which is insanely strong, so I highly recommend to get Tengen, especially he becomes a full AoE at later upgrades. Okay, next unit is Rengoku Purgatory. Rengoku is one of the best DPS with his insane passives and burn in this new Anime Vanguards Update 1.5. Rengoku Purgatory stats a max upgrade and max level R, 46,150 damage with his SPA at 5.8 seconds, making his damage per second at 7,956.89, which is extremely strong. Rengoku Purgatory first passive, Flame Breathing, is his attacks inflicts burn damage equal to 30% of his damage. Rengoku's second passive, Unwavering Focus, increases his damage by 5% on consecutive attacks done to the same enemy up to 20%. Rengoku's third passive, Purgatory Unleash, increases burn damage equal to 60% of damage enemies hit by attacks are inflicted with Purgatory Flames, making them receive 40% more burn damage, which pairing other flame units with Rengoku Purgatory is going to be insanely meta. How to get Rengoku Purgatory is by defeating the new raid Act 4 Web Demon, where there is a 1% chance on obtaining Rengoku, and I highly recommend to bring Blossom in your team when doing Act 4 with her insane cleanse. Alright, next one is Sukuna. Sukuna is one of the strongest secrets, especially with his overpowered nuke ability he gets and passives at later upgrades in this new Anime Vanguards update 1.5. Sukuna's stats are max upgrade and max level are 103,320 damage with his SPA at 5.6 seconds, making his damage per second at 18,450, which is extremely meta, especially with his nuke ability he gets at later upgrades, and he is extremely strong. Sukuna's first passive, King's Curse, is attacks before upgrade 9 cleaves enemies, making them take 20% more damage from bleed. Sukuna's second passive, Sinister Sanctum, at upgrade 8, he gains the ability Sinister Sanctum. His damage will increase by 1% for each kill during the Sinister Sanctum up to 30%, and at the same time, it will deal 300% of Sukuna's damage, and it is a global cooldown, making Monarch the best trade on Sukuna, especially his ability attacks everyone in his range. Sukuna's third passive, Divine Flames, at upgrade 9 he gains the fire element. His damage will increase by 40% and he will be immune to stun, which is insanely overpowered. How to evolve Itadori to Sukuna is by defeating 10 of the King of Curses from their latest boss event and get 20 fingers from the Jujutsu Kaisen Infinite mode. Good luck to everyone who is trying to get Sukuna. Okay, next one is Mimi Psychic. Momo is one of the newest exclusive limited unit, and she became one of the strongest exclusive units in this new Anime Vanguards update 1.5. Mimi Psychic stats are max upgrade and max level are 13,840 damage with her SPA at 4.4 seconds, making her damage per second at 3,145.45. Mimi's Psychic first passive, Sudden Awakening, her damage will increase by 40%, damage and SPA will be reduced by 5% every 4th attack down to 20%. Mimi's second passive, Psychokinesis, her damage will increase by 2% and increase her range by 1.5% per attack performed, while on the moves Boulder Toss or Psychic Throw will make her damage increase up to 30%. How to get Mimi Psychic is by summoning on the latest occult banner, and you'll be needing to use Spirit Wisp to summon, and to get Spirit Wisp is by grinding the new event. Alright, next one is Julius Explosion. Julius is still one of the best support, especially with his strong freeze. Julius Explosion stats a max upgrade and max level are 38,480 damage with his SPA at 6.4 seconds, making his damage per second at 6,012.5, which is insanely strong for a support unit. Julius Explosion's first passive is Mirrored Frost. When he attacks, he will be able to freeze enemies. His SPA will lower by 1% each time an enemy is frozen, capping at 10%. His second passive, Chilling Contempt, his damage will increase by 77% with each attack up to 56%, and his range increases by 7% per wave up to 35%, which is insanely strong. Wowee! How to get Julius Explosion is from the tier 25 battle pass. Okay, next one is Gojo Infinity. Gojo is still one of the strongest unit with his overpowered passives and ability at later upgrades in this new Anime Vanguards update 1.5. Gojo Infinity stats a max upgrade and max level are 40,050 damage with his SPA at 9.8 seconds, making his damage per second at 4,086.73, which is extremely good, especially he becomes a fully unit at later upgrades with his overpowered passives. Gojo's first passive, Strongest Sorcerer, he will gain 20% damage and lessens his SPA by 10%. His second passive, Limitless, he is immune to any status ailments, which is insanely strong. Not only that, his damage will increase by 0.1% with each wave pass. His third passive, Unlimited Expansion, he will gain the ability Void. His SPA will be reduced by 2% for each killing during Void down to 10%. And when Void is activated, Gojo will gain 50% more damage and all enemies in his range are frozen for 10 seconds, which is insanely strong. So I highly recommend to get Gojo. How to evolve Gojo is from doing the infinite and get fingers from Sukuna, and he is an RNG boss. Then once you have 20 fingers, you can transfer it for 2 eyes, which you will be needing to evolve your Gojo. Alright, next unit is Jogo Volcanic. Jogo is still one of the best units to have, especially with his insane passives and ability at later upgrades. Jogo Volcanic stats a max upgrade and max level are 17,370 damage with his SPA at 6.7 seconds, making his damage per second at 2,592.53, which is insanely strong, especially with his great passives and ability. Jogo Volcanic's first passive, Rising Flames, his attack will inflict burn equal to 30% of this unit's damage, with his damage increasing by 0.4% with each kill up to 20%. Wow! His second passive, Iron Kofik, it will gain the ability Iron Kofik when activated. Damage dealt 50% when hitting burning enemies, and attacks hit all enemies in his range while Iron Kofik is active, which is insanely strong, especially with his huge range. One last thing, Jogo's Volcanic's ability is world cooldown, so think wisely on how you use this ability. Okay, next unit is Zion Bertillon. Zion is one of the best damage per second, especially with his insane burn and passives. Zion Bertillon stats a max upgrade and max level are 15,460 damage with his SPA at 6.6 seconds, making her damage per second at 2,342.42, which is insanely strong, especially he is a 4 placement and does burn off the rip. Zion's first passive, Halcyon Flame, his attacks will inflict burn equal to 10% of this unit's damage, increases burn damage by 3% per attack up to 30%. Zion's second passive, Now Annihilation, his range will increase by 20%. If an enemy is burning, his damage will increase by 5% for each burning enemy up to 50%. How to get Zion Bertillon is from the newest Battle Pass Tier 50. Alright, next unit is Queeny Boxer. Queeny is one of the newest exclusive limited unit, and he became one of the best exclusive units in this new Anime Vanguards update 1.5. Queeny Boxer stats at max upgrade and max level are 20,940 damage with his SPA at 6.3 seconds, making his damage per second at 3,323.80. Queeny Boxer's first passive, Dover Demon, his damage will increase by 2.5% per attack, outperformed up to 37.5%. Queenie's second passive, You and I Cry, every 5 attacks performed, his SPA will be reduced by 50% for the next 2 attacks. How to get Queeny Boxer is by summoning on the latest occult banner, and you'll be needing to use Spirit Wisp to summon, and to get Spirit Wisp is by grinding the new event. Okay, next one is Igros Elite Knight. Igros is still one of the strongest secret units, especially he will become a full AoE at later upgrades with his strong passives. Igros Elite Knight stats a max upgrade and max level are 16,930 damage with his SPA at 5.3 seconds, making his damage per second at 3,194.33, which is extremely strong, especially he becomes a full AoE. Igros' first passive, he will deal 25% damage dealing against a boss. His second passive, who will gain 30% damage, lessens his SPA by 10%, and he will be immune to stun on placement. His last passive buffs his damage by 20% and range by 10% for 100 seconds after a shadow enters Igros' range. How to get Igros Elite Knight is by defeating the Double Dungeon Disaster Legend stage, and he is a 0.75% drop rate, so good luck to everyone who is grinding for Igros. You can also do the Igros boss event, which he will be dropped on there as well. Alright, next unit is Choso Blood Curse. Choso is still one of the best bleed unit, especially with his insane passives and full AoE at later upgrades in this new anime Vanguards update 1.5. Wow, Choso blood curse stats a max upgrade and max LR, 11,580 damage with his SP at 6.5 seconds, making his damage per second at 1,781.53, which isn't that bad, especially he does bleed, which will cancel out regeneration enemies, and he will become fully AoE at later upgrades. And I do want to say that he is insanely meta for the newest boss Sukuna King of Curses event. So go get him, guys. Choso blood curses first passive blood manipulation. Attacks will inflict bleed equal to 35% of this unit's damage. His second passive, flowing blood, with each attack performed, damage dealt 5% more on a bleeding enemy up to 50%. Okay, next unit is Psycho Spirit Medium. Psycho is one of the newest exclusive unit and she became one of the best exclusive, especially with her insane burn. Psycho Spirit Medium stats a max upgrade and max LR, 13,320 damage with her SP at 4.5 seconds, making her damage per second at 2,860. Psycho's first passive, Nessie's Blessing, her damage will increase by 25% if there is a boss currently on the track. Psycho's second passive, Blazing Barrier, attacks inflict burn equal to 25% of her damage. Her SPA will be reduced by 0.5% every time an enemy is inflicted with burn down to 50%. How to get Psycho Spirit Medium is by grinding the latest event, Mountain Shrine Natural, and she is a 1.5% drop chance, so good luck to everyone who is grinding for Psycho. Alright, next unit is Sung Jin Woo Monarch. Sung Jin Woo is one of the best mythical units, especially with his insanely strong ability he gets at later upgrades and multi-hit on placement, which he will be great against shield enemies and early defense. Sung Jin Woo Monarch stats a max upgrade and max LR, 13,450 damage with his SP at 5.6 seconds, making his damage per second at 2,401.78, which is extremely good, especially with his ability that he gets. Sung Jin Woo Monarch's first passive is, he will gain 0.1% damage per takedown up to 40%. With his second passive, killing enemies adds them to his shadow army up to 40 shadows, and when activating Arise, it will summon 15 shadows and summon 5 shadow knights. Sung Jin Woo Monarch's last passive, each time a shadow defeats an enemy, his damage will increase by 2.5%, maxing at 25%. Units in range that includes the name Igros also received the damage increase. Finally, the last unit is Alucard Vampire King. Alucard is one of the rarest secret unit and he became one of the strongest secrets with his overpowered passives and ability at later upgrades in this new anime Vanguards update 1.5. Alucard Vampire King stats a max upgrade and max LR, 9,890 damage with his SP at 4.5 seconds, making his damage per second at 2,220, which is insanely good, especially he will become a full AoE. At later upgrades, he will also get a new ability, Restraint level 0, when activated. Summoning ghouls. While ghouls are present on the map, Alucard's SPA decreases by 10% until they are dead. Each time a ghoul dies, Alucard's damage is increased by 1% up to 35%. How to get Alucard is by summoning on the banner, and there is a 1 out of 25,000 chance of getting him. So good luck to everyone who is summoning for Alucard. That was everything for this video on the top 10 must-have units in Anime Vanguards Update 1.5. I hope this video helped you in some sort of way. Remember to subscribe and like, and I will see you in my next one. Bye bye.